Here's left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 111-109. Now SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You listen to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Top Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Hunsinger at Thunder Chats. We are part of the B-League Network. This podcast is brought to you by betonline.ag. Now that that's out of the way, I just want to point out that I almost opened this podcast with a little Thunder poem, but I decided against it. Maybe later in the podcast, on your toes. But yeah. Also is in the same shirt. We twinning right now. Is the man, the myth, the legend, the Understone, Connor. What up, Connor?
I'm doing well, man. Yeah, I hopped on and saw Dylan wearing that shirt, one that I had. So I got this shirt for myself about a month and a half ago. And then on Christmas Day, my parents also got it for me. So I had two of them. I've returned one of them now, but I had to keep one because apparently this is the uniform for today. But I'm doing good, man. Thunder haven't lost in a long time. 11-game win streak, second longest in NBA history, or the NBA history, Thunder history, sorry. But in the history of the Thunder, best 31 game start that we've ever had. We are 26-5, on pace for 68 wins. It makes you think about where we would be if Chet didn't get hurt. If we had Chet and Ihart healthy for this entire season, it makes you wonder what kind of records the Thunder could have pushed. But regardless, they're on pace for the best season in Thunder history by a long shot right now. So I don't have much to complain about, man.
Yeah, no, man. Vibes are absolutely high. Vibes are immaculate. And in terms of the people that keep saying, "Oh, but they lost to the Bucks," like I'll just say this: what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I mean, that's kind of the mantra of the city.
NBA is not going to count it on official records, man. I'm not going to count it. I tweet out after we won the other night that the Thunder have won 11 straight games, and someone's like, "Wait, no, they didn't. They lost a couple weeks ago to the Bucks." And I'm just saying what the schedule says. The NBA themselves have tweeted out a few times the Thunder have won 11 straight. So, take it up with the NBA if you got a problem with it.
I love it. It makes me happy. I will take 11 games straight instead of, even if we counted that, what would it be? Would it be like 4 or 5 game win streak, which is still good compared to like the rest of the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, the only other win streak that's anywhere close is the Knicks. They're on an 8-game win streak right now. Same thing with the Cavs. Or Cavs are on a 6. If they win tonight, they'll be on a 7. They're playing the Warriors right now, and it's close. But yeah, Thunder, 11-game win streak, second longest in the NBA this season, only behind the start that the Cavaliers had. They've been looking fantastic. I mean, it's pretty much dominant efforts too. Like there have been very few games where the Thunder haven't kind of eviscerated opponents as of late. And that's nice. There have been some Thunder teams in the past that were really good. I feel like a lot of times in some of those KD Russ days, the Thunder would get a lot of wins, but there were a lot uglier games where I was like, oh, that was a little bit closer than I would have liked for it to be. And I don't know. It really hasn't felt like that's been the case a lot at all this season. I mean, that goes along with one of the best net ratings of all time. So like Euro Thunder just said in the chat, starting to forget what losing feels like. It is weird. Like we're almost halfway through the season. We're like 10, 11 games away from being halfway through the year. Just 10 games actually. And we've lost 5. So it makes sense. You've forgotten what losing feels like because they don't do it very often.
Yeah, and what's wild is we've really only lost 1 game with Isaiah Hartenstein healthy. Ever since the Chet injury, we lost the Rockets game, and that was by single digits. Like that was by 3 points or something like that.
In a game where Fred VanVleet had 39.
Yeah, it's just absolutely nuts.
Outside of that game, the Thunder haven't lost. That's the only loss the Thunder have had since November. So if they beat Minnesota, they'll have finished a 1-loss month of December, which is actually mind-blowing, especially when you consider the fact that they had some extra tough games because they played in the NBA Cup. So they had to play Houston. Another time they had to play Dallas. Another time, those are really good teams, and the Thunder kind of walked all over the two of them. And, we'll talk about the Thunder kind of walking all over one of the other best teams in the Western Conference that we just played yesterday, albeit it wasn't the most healthy matchup in the world. But even still, it's nice to see the Thunder just convincingly get through those games. Again, like we said, they kind of just beat up on the teams they're supposed to, and that's a good feeling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you mentioned, the Thunder played the Grizzlies yesterday, but we haven't podcasted in a while. So me and Alex podcasted on Monday after the Thunder's victory against the Washington Wizards, but we've had 3 games since then. And guys, hand up, like it's on me. The reason we didn't get a podcast over the weekend, like it was the holiday. It was actually just gonna be me and Cone again, and Cone reached out, I think like 10:30, 11 o'clock, like, hey, I'm good to pod if you want to. I'm like, dude, I'm tired. Like, let's just chalk it up.
It's the holidays, man. It's the holidays.
Yeah. So, but hey, we're back now. Like I said, we played 3 games, and they were all impressive in their own right. Like, we beat the Pacers 120 to 114, and that's been a team that we've kind of struggled with in the past. Specifically last season, I think we lost both times we played to them. And then also we played the Hornets 106 to 94. That was a little preview to the Top Thunder fan event. But that was like without a lot of guys. And Vasilije Micic tried to have a revenge game on us.
He was going crazy to start that game, man.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been his best game of the season, right?
It's one of his better ones for sure. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's funny. One of my good friends who actually also got me this little Shai print you can see back there, which is really sick, by the way. Shout out to my guy Matt. But I'm back home in Virginia right now from New York City. If you didn't know, that's where I reside at the moment. But I'm back home, and he was asking if I wanted to go to Charlotte to go see the Thunder play there over this weekend. And I was like, I'm not sure, because I just traveled home, and I didn't really want to do all that driving, because it's like a 4.5, 5-hour drive from here, and I'm not the biggest fan of car rides. So I decided against it. It's probably a good thing, because there was no LaMelo, no Brandon Miller. Thunder were, of course, without a couple of pieces too, and
no Trey Mann.
Yeah, no Trey Mann either. And like Micic was going kind of crazy at the beginning, but I mean, it was kind of an ugly game. Like Shai really didn't have to shoot at all. So wouldn't have exactly been worth the drive, I don't think. So yeah, probably a good decision I didn't go to that one.
No, absolutely. But it was good to pick up the win. A lot of people like to talk about the opponents that we've had in this win streak. And if you go back to, let's see, the Rockets game. So we beat the Jazz, Raptors, Pelicans. Again, not great, but as you mentioned, we beat the Mavs and the Rockets, and the Magic. They were a little banged up, but we beat the Heat. That's a good team. Then we beat the Wizards, which I get it, low level. Pacers, good team. We beat the Hornets, but then we beat the Grizzlies last night, and the Grizzlies were like the number 2 team in the West going into last night's game. And I get they didn't have Ja Morant. I get they didn't have some bench pieces, but the Thunder took the foot off the gas very early on. Like, this could have been, like, we could have scored like 145, 150 points if, like, we played our guys the entire game, which I was shocked to see Shai go out there at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Like, I
guess they just didn't want to mess around at all, because I guess they brought it from like 30 to like 23, and they're like, yeah, like, let's just step on the throat a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like, the Grizzlies were injured a little bit. Or a good bit. They've been one of the more injured teams in the league this season, which is why it's also so impressive that they are where they are right now in the standings. But I don't think Ja Morant being back and a couple of those role players, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I still think that was just a game where the Thunder were like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and take over in this one. And I'm not saying it couldn't be different in like a later matchup. I think we play again in February is the next time we play. So I'm really excited to see that. I'm hoping that the Grizzlies have more guys on the court. Ja is dealing with an AC joint sprain, I believe is what it is. It's in his shoulder after hitting a Daniel Tice screen pretty hard. So he's out week to week. So hopefully he's back. I mean, he should be. It's like over a month away. So unless something else pops up, he should be playing in that game. Same thing with Zach Edey. Like, yeah, they were for sure missing pieces. But even still, I mean, it's again what we talk about. Like, that's one of those games where you're still playing Jaren Jackson Jr., who has been probably the Grizzlies' best player so far this season. You're still playing Desmond Bane, who is very, very scary, and some really solid role players. Like, that's a Grizzlies team that has been pretty successful despite not having Ja Morant a lot throughout their recent years. And the Thunder just annihilated them, like they should. Like, they were a healthier team, even though they're also missing Chet Holmgren, which for some reason, I feel like everybody forgets to mention when they talk about what the Thunder are going through this season. And we'll get to that a little bit, I think, when we talk about Shai and the whole MVP race later, which is going well right now. At the moment, I would say he's the favorite to win MVP, and that should continue to be the case. Yeah. But like missing Chet is an important piece, without Alex Caruso as well, who's a big time defender. And I feel like the Thunder made a few different statements in that game. That was one of the more complete efforts I feel like OKC has shown on the offensive end, at least for the beginning of it. By the end of the game, like we put in some of the the more end of bench guys, and the 3-point percentage came down a little bit, but we were peppering them with threes. Shai was literally unstoppable. There was nothing anybody on the Grizzlies could do to even slow him down minutely. Like Isaiah Hartenstein, one of his best defensive games of the season so far. Because again, Jaren's been awesome this season. Jaren should firmly be an all-star. And I think he shot 3 of 17 in this game, and iHeart was the guy that was out there mostly clamping up on him. He was the primary defender on Triple J, and it just, he hit a couple shots early on, but it didn't end up mattering at all. So, yeah, just all around wall-to-wall effort from the Thunder against the Grizzlies, and like that's what you want to see. If you get a chance against one of the best teams in the NBA and they don't have all their pieces, you go ahead and you punch them in the face, and that's what the Thunder did. I mean, people can complain about the fact that they played an injured Grizzlies team, but it's not like they barely squeaked by. They like annihilated them. It was never even a question. The Grizzlies started off, I think 9-0 or 11-0. I think it was 9. And then the Thunder immediately like tied it up and took a lead, and then we're up by as much as 30. So.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say it's one of the best wins of the season or anything like that, but I mean, the fact that you scored 130 points like an NBA game is impressive in and of itself. And it's like we said a million times, man, you can only play the people that are in front of you. And the Grizzlies were in front of us last night. They were missing a few people. We were still missing a couple of people as well. Like they don't like to mention that. You mentioned Chet Holmgren, who was also down Alex Caruso. Like, a lot of people want to downplay Alex Caruso's impact, but defensively, it's a game changer. And the way they was letting Lou Dort and Case Wallace play, like they were letting them play like a physical brand of defense. If Caruso was out there as well, like it could have been even uglier. So, I think we just got to acknowledge both sides were missing some pieces, and this wasn't like a end all be all of what this series would look like or what the next game might look like. But I definitely think that we could lean towards the Thunder having the advantage here. Because
I mean, I think. You go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, like, even if John Morant was out there, like we have ample options to throw at him to try to slow him down. Like I know Lou Dort's kind of struggled with him in the past because like his quickness and his explosiveness, and he's not the type of guy that Dort would thrive in guarding. But I could see Kaysen having success with him. I could see Alex Caruso having success with him. So I think that there's multiple options that we could have to, kind of negate what he would bring.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Thunder are just a better team than the Grizzlies. Obviously, we're going to think that, but I just think it's the case. So I would take the Thunder in a series over the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies are really good. Like this is a really good Memphis team that I think flies a little bit under the radar. They deserve so much credit for the way that they've stayed afloat despite the big injuries that they've dealt with. I think by overall games missed amongst everybody on the roster, I think they lead the league at this point, although the Pelicans have also been eviscerated. So it's probably between those two teams. But Memphis has been beat up this season and they're still the second seed in the Western Conference. I'm of the personal belief that the Thunder are the best team. They are the cream of the crop in the West, and then I probably have Dallas second. I think the Mavericks are the team that is easily the biggest threat to take out the Thunder, but I think the Grizzlies are also kind of right there. But yeah, I mean, I guess we won't know exactly what this match would look like until we get to see these two teams play again in February, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch those two teams go up against each other at a little bit more of full strength, and then I think. Do we play them 3 or 4 times this season? Because I know we got to play them. We play them again in March, so March 5th. So hopefully at that point, Chet Holmgren is back as well, and then we can actually get the full battle.
Yeah. So we got a super chat here from Euro Thunder. Says when Chet returns, plays on his pre-injury level, will Shai still have enough touches / stats to be the NBA MVP favorite? Personally, I don't think so. I think that we can cover this a little bit more in our next topic after we get done kind of talking about the Grizzlies game. So I'm not sweeping this under the rug or anything. We'll definitely address it, but just overarching, I think Shai's going to kind of be what Shai is. Chet was still having a really great season last year, even as, again, he was a rookie, but he was anchoring one of the best defenses in the league. He was still playing an active role in the offensive end, and Shai was still putting up borderline, runner-up MVP numbers at the very least, depending on how you felt about that. He's still putting up, those types of numbers in terms of scoring and efficiency. And that was with sharing ball handling responsibilities with Josh Giddey. And Giddey's not here now, and he's had to step up in a huge way. I think that he's actually improved his game. I think that dare I say, he looks smoother. Dare I say it looks easier to get to the rim at this point. And his three-point shot, he looks more comfortable with it. That doesn't mean it's going to fall every night, but he's taking it more confidently. And like I said, the comfort level feels very high. And, we've seen some of these big games in which that made the difference, like the ability to just take that shot confidently and, make the defense respect it, or, make them pay if they don't respect it. So I think Shai still has all the tools to make the MVP. And I don't really think that the other guys are making it hard. Sure, Jokic is having a great season. Giannis is having a great season. Giannis is having a great season, but the Bucks aren't standing out in the East as, bad as the East is. Jokic is having a great season, but they're in the outside looking in the playoff race, towards the end of the season. And then who's next? Is it Jason Tatum? With that super team around him? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be between Shai and Jokic. I think it'll really come down to what the games gap looks like in terms of wins between Shai and Joker. Jokic just had a monster game. It looks like they are going to end up beating the Jazz. Right now, Jokic has 36, 20, and 10, so it's a monster game from him. He's going to continue to put up those crazy numbers. And I think, Shai's also putting up ridiculous numbers in his own right. And right now, he's leading in the advanced stats. And at the moment, they are on pace, the Thunder, to win 68 games. If they win 68 games, even if Shai's numbers take a little bit of a drop back when Chet comes back, which honestly, I don't think they will because of touches. To me, when Chet returns, the biggest concern for Shai's numbers is the fact that he might be sitting out fourth quarters because the team is just annihilating everybody. Yeah. That's one of my bigger concerns, because
that was the case at the beginning of the season, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't think Chet takes a little bit away, but they don't really go through the same touches. I think he could up Shai's dimes a little bit. And if anything, I think Chet's presence, just being out there in the three-point line and being that threat, just opens up the game a little bit more for Shai and allows him to keep scoring the way that he does. So I could see the efficiency coming up, even if the points drop a little bit, but I really don't think it's gonna make that much of a difference. Chet coming in, I think, rather just reshapes people's roles than takes away from what Shai does. I think if we were bringing in another legitimate ball handler, then that could maybe change his numbers a little bit. But Chet's not always gonna have the ball in his hands and be triple driving out there in the perimeter, even if he does sometimes. They play very different roles. So Chet's going to come in and score for sure, but I don't see it taking that much away from Shai, to be honest. One guy I do want to shout real quick while we're on the topic of the Grizzlies game, and really just in general, AJ Mitchell, man. AJ Mitchell. And I tweeted this last night. I am dangerously close. If they had an AJ Mitchell jersey, I would have already bought it already. I literally went to the Thunder shop at halftime, or I think even before that. AJ had a tough bucket, and I went there to see if they had any jerseys. Unfortunately, they don't. And I don't really want to buy a jersey right now because I'm not a big wearing jerseys guy at this point. Yeah, but if they would sell me an AJ Mitchell jersey, I would have had 3 of them at this moment. He's been so good. So over the last 4 games, he's been playing a lot more. He had 22 minutes against the Wizards, 16 against the Pacers, 32 against the Hornets, and 22 against the Grizzlies. I actually tweet out the stats. Let me go over to my Twitter account real quick. Good thing I always keep Twitter open. AJ's stats at this point over the last 4 games. 13 points per game, 4.8 boards, 2.3 assists, 64.5% shooting from the field, and 58.3% from 3. And that includes a double-double against the Wizards with 16 and 12. And last night against the Grizzlies, 17 points, a rebound, and 3 dimes to go with a steal. AJ's awesome. AJ's so good. And I don't think people are really realizing how good he is. We saw it a little bit in the summer league where it's whoa, AJ Mitchell's an automatic paint touch. Every time he was getting downhill, getting to his spots, just the fluidity with that AJ brings to the table is crazy. And he's just so consistently able to get down low into the defense, play make. And I can't remember who this was who put out on Twitter. I apologize. I don't remember who it was, but someone said that we really haven't seen Shai play alongside a legit point guard since Chris Paul. Like, Giddey was kind of that other ball handler, but he really wasn't like that typical point guard kind of player where it's like a smaller guy handling the ball. Although AJ's bigger than you think. I think AJ's what, 6'5"? Like this whole team just has not a lot of, I mean, now we have more size at the big man spot, but like positionally, the Thunder got size. But like AJ feels more like that point guard type player, And it's really fun to watch. I mean, their net rating together is ridiculous. And anytime AJ comes on the court, it's reached a point where despite him being a rookie, a second round rookie on a 68 win pace team, I just feel so confident when he's out there. Anything that he does, there may not be a single shooter on the roster at the moment that I trust to knock down an open three more than AJ Mitchell. Like if anybody's going to shoot the ball, like getting a wide open catch and shoot three, I'd like it to be AJ. Like that's just the way he's shooting right now. He can't really miss from the outside. The jumper is kind of funky, but it works. He gets to his spots really well. He's got really nice floater, good vision. He's just a lot better than he should be at this point for a second round rookie on such a good team. And I think it's pretty clear that after the trade deadline, I think literally, so he can play 50 games because he's a two-way player. And I'm pretty sure game 50 happens like literally right after the trade deadline. I think what's going to happen is that we keep that roster spot open. And, if we trade guys to make an addition, we trade guys and then we go ahead and bring them in. But if we don't make any moves, they just, the day after the trade deadline, are going to have to sign AJ Mitchell to a full contract. Because at this point, I want AJ Mitchell as part of the playoff rotation, or at least a guy that we can utilize in those moments if we need him. That's how reliable and how good he's been so far. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything you said, and I'll just say, like, it's just his poise, man. Like, people make a big deal in the draft about drafting, like, older players. And, you look at guys like Dalton Connect and what he's been able to do this season as an older player. And, and then you look at guys like AJ Mitchell, like, he was kind of an upperclassman out of UC Santa Barbara. And a lot of people, kind of overlooked him because he was kind of a jack of all trades guy. He wasn't like somebody that like had an elite skill at anything, but he kind of did everything well. And, he was a veteran and he knew how to play and he knew how to like leverage his position and leverage his size. And that's translated really well to the NBA. Like, you said that you're about as confident with him as anybody else on the roster when it comes to catch and shoot threes. Like, I'm about as confident as him and anybody else on the roster besides Shai on driving the basketball. Because I feel like the effectiveness, the confidence, the consistency of being able to get downhill, I trust him almost more than anybody else other than Shai on the team. And the fact that we're talking about a guy that, is a two-way rookie, it's just insane. And it was cool. They asked Mark Daignault about AJ Mitchell, like after the game, and he said something to the effect that Sam always loved him. He was talking about like he would go and see him all the time and he would tell Mark about him. And it's really cool because, people don't remember unless, you're a Thunder fan, you were in the thick of it. The Thunder didn't have a second round pick. Like they traded Wendy Waters, they got into the second round, then they traded up twice in order to get AJ Mitchell, where they got him. So they had a plan going in, and they brought him in. They had a role for him, they had a vision for him, and he's executed that role. He's executed that vision, and he's been great. He's been one of their best bench players this year, I would say. Like after, I mean, I would wager to say Casey Wallace. And, I'd say Caruso probably has an asterisk just because of his injuries, but you can make a legitimate case that he's outplayed Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe in his role.
And it's funny because, I mean, before the season, it was like, I think the whole conversation we were having was like, how often is he even going to touch the court? He's probably just an OKC Blue guy for majority of the season. And then they gave him early season run, and it's like, hey, this guy can do a little bit of everything. And now, like, we're talking about him. Like, I would love for him to get real playoff minutes. And maybe it reaches a point where in the playoffs, he's just not ready for that type of intensity and environment. And that's perfectly fine. Like, legitimately, for a second year or a second round rookie, just any rookie to not be ready for the playoffs, 1,000% okay. But the fact that I even feel like he could make an impact, I mean, it's just crazy. It's like the Thunder and Sam Presti in general, who, by the way, there was a poll today that came out from The Athletic where they polled like pretty much front office executives, like people all over all the major American sports. And out of every major American sport, the Thunder's front office got voted the best which is,
crazy.
I mean, that's a testament to, like, no, this isn't even just NBA specific. This is baseball, this is football, this is hockey, this is basketball. Like, they just keep hitting, you know. It's J-Dub, it's Cason Wallace, it's Aaron Wiggins late in the second round. It's, you know, even finding like Lou Dort undrafted, and now you get AJ Mitchell, who we weren't sure if he was going to play real minutes this year outside of the OKC Blue, and maybe a couple minutes here and there to start the season. And now, like, he's so indispensable. I need them to give him I want that full contract given to him immediately. And I know he's not going to get it because they're just going to keep that flexibility, but he's 100% earned that right. The second that the deadline is up and we're not going to use that roster spot anymore, AJ Mitchell should get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're all in lockstep with that. I think AJ Mitchell is one of the things that the Thunder fan base has been able to rally around in this season. You know, even though we're one of the best teams in the league, even though we are the best team by far in the West, I think we have like a 4-game lead on the Western Conference. We've lost 5 games on the season. Like, you know, Thunder fans are still finding things to, you know, kind of pick apart, kind of complain.
There's always got to be something, man. It's like with the Thunder becomes so almost like boringly good at moments. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, they just run teams off the court sometimes, that people are like, well, that was a weird little turnover that so-and-so player had in like the 3rd minute of the 4th quarter. Like, it's, you know, people got to find stuff. And, you know, talk about whatever you want to talk about. Like, that's completely cool. Do fandom the way that you want to do fandom. And, you know, no team is perfect. It's perfectly fine to identify and like nitpick at stuff. Because with the way this team is playing, like how good they are, the only really thing you can do is nitpick when you talk about weaknesses. But yeah, man, I think AJ Mitchell's someone that everybody can agree on has been awesome. I also do want to shout Kenrich Williams, what he's done so far this season.
Been great.
Last night against the Grizzlies. I mean, he's also been one of the best bench players. 12 points last night against the Grizzlies, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 of 6 shooting, 3 of 4 from the outside. And on the season, putting up about 6.5 points. He's shooting 57% from the floor, 42% from 3. He's dealt with some injuries over the past few years, and I think that's kind of made people forget how effective he can be at times. But Kenrich is so good, man. He's just so steady. Also, it's crazy to me that he's 30 years old. He does not feel 30 years old at all. And I want to shout out, maybe the craziest part of all of it is that Kenrich has always been a pretty efficient scorer for his career, 47% shooter from the field and 36% from 3, but he's always been a bad free throw shooter. And it's been like the weirdest thing ever that he can just never shoot free throws. Like, since coming to the Thunder, 57%, 54%, 43%, 50% from the free throw line. That's crazy. This season, he has not missed a single free throw. He is shooting 100% from the free throw line. He's 10 of 10. It's not a lot of attempts. And last night he had an and 1, and it bounced like 4 times on the rim before going in. I was worried it was over. But the fact that he's 10 of 10 right now is kind of ridiculous. So I just want to shout him out. Maybe he's finally getting some positive career regression to the mean, progression to the mean, whatever, on the free throw percentage. But shout out to him for that as well.
As far as the bouncing around the rim a million times, the great lyricist Akon once said, "Still counts." So
still counts.
It
goes in. It goes in.
Yeah. Also, you know, kind of talking about the Grizzly game, you know, we're just kind of bouncing around at this point. Not really doing a single large item because it's just a couple of us, but, you know, just kind of bouncing around. We had 2 guys on triple double watch.
We did.
We mentioned Isaiah Hartenstein and the impact they had defensively, but he had an impact all over the place. He had 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, which I think the 6 assists is his season high. And obviously, you know, his career high with the Thunder. But Dub also almost had his first career triple-double. He had 14 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. And I just got to say, if we had to, you know, play late in the 4th quarter, we could have had 2 guys have a triple-double.
It's kind of crazy Dub hasn't had one. Like, I feel like he would have had at least one by now. Like, in maybe some of those games where he played and, like, Shai wasn't out there or Chet wasn't out there, like his rookie season maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Dub's been going through a little bit of a shooting slump as of late. It happens. I'm not really worried about it at all. Like, the Thunder are still winning despite it. But he's finding so many other ways to be effective. I mean, he's still been an all defensive level defender. He's been really solid in terms of his playmaking, and he's hitting a few more of those jumpers last night. Didn't really have to do too much because again, it was kind of a blowout, so it's not like we needed fourth quarter J-Dub to take over or anything like that. I mean, he was 7 of 16, so just below 50%, and really just it was the threes that weren't falling. He was 7 of 11 from inside the arc, just 0 of 5 from the outside. That's kind of been where he's been missing a lot more as of late, just 35.8% from three right now, and I think that number is going to come up. So I'm not really worried about it going through a slump, but it's cool to see him still affect the game in other ways.
Yeah, his true weapon is in transition because the gear that he can get to once he gets the ball and has like one or two guys to beat is just absurd. It feels like he moves on the court faster than anybody in transition. But yeah, no, he caught a body last night a little bit. It was like a trail body. So I don't know how you would define that, but I mean, it was a nasty dunk and the dude definitely tried to block him and he still finished the dunk. So by my definition, still counts. Like I said,
basically a poster.
Yeah. I got to see because Joseph here in the chat is saying that he heard an announcer, if he heard the announcer correctly, J-Dub's career high rebounds was last night was 10. I heard Cone typing furiously, so he's going to figure that out for us.
He had 15 in a game before.
Okay, so they were incorrect.
Not
you, Joseph, somebody else. Was it the other Jalen Williams? Did you type in the wrong Jalen Williams?
No, No, that is tied for his career high. It's the stupid, nowadays, like when you Google something, there's a little AI thing at the top.
Yeah.
It said that Jalen Williams, a guard forward for the OKC Thunder, has a career high 15 rebounds in a game, and it was referring to his final game at Santa Clara. Like, why? Like, I Google Jalen Williams' career high rebounds. Why are you telling me that this Thunder, that his career high is in a college game? It's just everything is AI now, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that they just bring that up.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if we want now, we could get into Shai because we're talking about everybody else. But, I mean, he last night annihilated the Grizzlies as well. 35 points, 14 of 19 shooting, and he was 1 of 5 from three. So that means otherwise he was 13 of 14 from inside the arc. He missed one shot inside the arc, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, 4 blocks. Shai is putting on legitimately a historic season, and I think people are starting to realize it more and more, and it's reflecting because as of right now, let me double check because Jokic just had a monster game, so it might have changed. Let me make sure before I go ahead and as of right now, Shai is the front runner for the NBA MVP award on most betting platforms. There are a few of them that have Jokic still as a slight favorite, but a lot of them have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as the number one guy in that spot. He just won Player of the Week, and it feels like people are starting to notice a lot more, and that a lot more people are coming around to him being the MVP of the league. And I think one game that kind of played a role in that, because y'all didn't pod after the Pacers game, right?
No, we didn't.
Is the Pacers game, which we haven't talked about. Not a ton to note in that one. I mean, it was a great win because I don't think people realize that the Pacers have kind of turned it around, and they were on a 5-game win streak of their own at that point. It was on the road. That was a real game where the Thunder could have lost. They've also kind of been beat up a lot recently by the Pacers. They went in there and got a win, and Shai led the way with 45, 7, 8, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 15 of 22 from the floor, 4 5 from 3, including a dagger 3 that probably should have been an and one towards the end of the game. That was one of the most dominant Shai efforts we've seen all season long, amongst a year of a lot of dominant efforts. I mean, he tied his career high. I really wish he could have broken it. It felt like that could have been the game for the 50-piece, but Shai just completely took over. And on the season now, he's dropping 31 points a game, shooting 52.3% from the floor as a guard. The 3-point percentage dropped a little bit after last night, and the last couple nights he's 2 of 11 from 3, but 34.4%. It's a lot higher if you include just the game since Chet went down, because of course the beginning of the year was a lot rougher. 6 dimes, 6 boards, 2 steals, 1.2 blocks. It's ridiculous. At the moment, Shai is leading the MVP race, and the NBA's MVP ladder didn't quite reflect that, but I think it will change. I think he'll be 1 or 2 in the upcoming one when they release it again. And I think Shai's in prime spot to again win Player of the Month. That would be back-to-back Player of the Month awards. And I think he'd be only the third Thunder player ever to do that. I believe only Russ and KD have done that before, winning multiple Western Conference Player of the Month awards back to back. I mean, I said this in our group chat the other day. I think if things continue on this pace, I've reached a point where I would be surprised if Shai's not the MVP at the end of the season. And I kind of felt this way going into the year because to me, it was all set up for him. And it's even more so set up now because Shai at the moment is putting on easily some of the best numbers in the NBA. And this isn't just like counting stats. Jokic, of course, who in my opinion is the only other threat to Shai winning. Giannis has been awesome this season, but I just don't think the Bucks are going to have the record that is anywhere close to OKC's. And his numbers aren't as staggering. I mean, they're amazing, but Jokic has like these staggering numbers. And it's probably going to come down to, is it the staggering numbers or is it the slightly less staggering numbers, but the much better record with Jokic versus Shai? But one thing that Jokic just kind of always had over everybody is the advanced stats. Shai leads in the advanced stats right now. EPM, 8.1 compared to a 7.4 for Jokic. That's a pretty sizable gap. Estimated wins, 7.9 compared to 6.7 for Jokic. Again, pretty sizable gap. Like everything is pretty much saying that Shai has been more valuable this season than Nikola Jokic. And you can make whatever argument you want, but I think the way that Shai has been playing, the fact that the Thunder are, again, on pace for 68 wins right now, despite Chet Holmgren, who is probably, with his rim protection, the team's second most impactful player. At the very worst, he's a 2B to Jalen Williams. Like the two of them are like the 2A, 2B, whatever you want to go ahead and say for that. But Chet Holmgren is easily one of the most impactful players, not just for the Thunder, but in terms of the entire sport. And the fact that he's out, he's only played 10 games this season. Isaiah Hartenstein missed the beginning of the season. Like, the Thunder have dealt with a lot of role player injuries as well. This team should not be on this win pace. They shouldn't. Like, they are an amazing defensive team, and the three-point shooting hasn't really come around. It has been some games where it has been Shai heroics and just taking over and carrying the team. Like, I believe the on-off numbers say that when he's off the court, we're like kind of a meh offense. And when he's on it, we're like by far the best in the NBA. So this really has been, in my opinion, a dominant MVP effort to the point where right now he should pretty clearly be the MVP frontrunner. Maybe Jokic ends up coming back and makes it a little bit closer if the Nuggets can win some more games. But like, just, I don't think people are internalizing that Shai is having a historic year, basically.
Yeah, and shout out Thunder Focus. He put out a great tweet kind of conceptualizing this. I don't have the exact tweet, but I do have the screenshot of the basketball reference. Shai is having the 13th best season of all time in terms of like just impact, like win shares per 48 minutes. The players in front of him, so you need to brace yourself for this. So Nikola Jokic, pretty good at basketball. Steph Curry in his like MVP, just like game breaking season 2016. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, four of the best basketball players to ever play the game of basketball.
Four top 10 guys, yeah.
So yeah, Shai's right there with them, and the season's not over. Now that can go up, that can go down, but based on what we have seen from Shai, and what he said last year, like my whole life consistent. Like Shai is like the most consistent 30 that you can bet on every night. Like, for whatever reason, Vegas likes to put his line at like 31.5, 32.5. That's money almost every night, unless you're playing a team that's just gonna like throw double teams at you. That's money every night. Like he's just as consistent is. And we one player of the week this week, obviously, as he should. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And then I also had some stats pulled up for what he's done just since Chet Holmgren's injury. So he's had 33.3 points per game on 53.8% from the field, shooting from the field. As a guard is just nuts. Like that's just ridiculous efficiency. This, considering how many shots he's taking and the variety of shots he's taking, shooting 37.4% from the 3-point line since Chet's injury. So that's pretty good. Like if Shai was to like round out at 38% for his career on the amount of attempts he's taking, I would be thrilled. 65.3 true shooting percentage, 5.5 rebounds per game, 6.1 assists per game, 2.2 steals per game, 1.3 blocks per game, and had an 18-3 record with Chet Holmgren out. So, like, the stuff that Shai is doing is not normal, and he's breaking the mold even for guards. Shout out to Kawhi_ring, who quote tweeted the Real Sports Apps tweet, who said, Shai amongst point guards this season, first in points, first in steal, first in blocks. Kawhi_ring said he's first in wins, also in a harder conference than any other guard that could like be in consideration. First in plus minus, first in steals amongst point guards, first in blocks, first in points, first in games played without his co-star, first in shots made, first in win shares, first in defensive win shares, third in offensive win shares, second in BPM, second in offensive BPM, third in defensive BPM, second in VORP, second in defensive rating, second in steals. And as we said earlier, like he hasn't just led, like he has drugged this Thunder team to a 68 win pace without Chet Holmgren. And Jalen Williams, you know, early in the season, like he was awesome. He was playing like an all-star. He's been in a slump recently. Isaiah Hartenstein, you know, he's a phenomenal player, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to, you know, be able to, you know, you're going to be able to rely on offensively for like long stretches of the game. Like he's a dump off guy. He's a guy that has shots created for him. The fact that Shai has been able to just like overcome this and continue to make the Thunder just as deadly a team as they could possibly be, to lead them to 26-5 going into the final game of the new year, 11-game win streak, is just absolutely nuts. Like, and it's unprecedented, honestly. Like it just doesn't happen in the modern NBA.
Yeah, and I mean, amongst all that, he is. I mean, shout out to S at just S Barhenny. I probably butchered his name. I apologize. But if you don't follow him, he's like does awesome stuff. He's a Raptors fan. Covers the NBA, a couple different avenues. But friend of the pod, he's awesome. Like, highly recommend you go follow him. Also, push a little bit of Shai propaganda, which we always appreciate. Shai's on pace to have one of the greatest mid-range scoring seasons by guard in NBA history. Right now, just this isn't specifically mid-range, but he provided the stats. He's shooting like over 50% on both short and long mid-range jumpers, which is ridiculous. But he's shooting near 60% right now this season on nearly 15 2-point attempts per game, and only 11 players ever have done that. They're all bigs or wings. So Shai is having one of the best, maybe arguably the best interior scoring season by a guard of all time. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about like historic greatness and stuff like that, we're not talking about like, you know, we're not just saying like, oh, he's having like a modern historic season. He's having legitimately one of the best seasons ever. And I put out a tweet about this. I think for some reason, and I have a couple of theories, it's just hard for people to internalize how good Shai is. And I wonder if it's going to be one of those situations, because it was almost a little bit like this with Jokic, where until Jokic won a ring, there were a lot more detractors. And I think now that he's won one, people are like, oh, okay, like never mind. And now it feels like there's revisionist history from some people where they're like, oh, Jokic was always recognized as this all-time great. And a lot of people realized it, but I think a lot of people more so tried to discount him and say, oh, well, he can't lead a team to success. And the Nuggets were called like a fraud 1 seed, I remember, when they were going into the playoffs the year that they won the NBA Finals. I don't even think I picked them to win the finals going into those playoffs. I think I had Phoenix potentially beating them, but not that I was a detractor of Jokic, but I don't think people like truly internalized how good Jokic was until he went on that historic run. And I'm hoping it's the same thing for Shai this year, where he goes on that run and then he finally gets his flowers. But for some reason, people are like detracting. I saw one tweet today that was like, I can't believe Shai might win an MVP in a league where Jokic and Giannis exist, when it's like Shai's kind of having a better season than both of them right now. I mean, you could talk about Jokic, but I think firmly at the very least he's having the second best statistical season in the league. And there's an argument for one when you take into account the way that the team is winning and the way that he's put them on his back in some of these games. And I think there are a couple of ideas I have. I think one of them is the fact that he kind of took an unprecedented leap. Like, it's very rare that you see a guy go from not making an All-Star game for the first few years of his career. Like, Shai wasn't an All-Star his rookie season, his second, his third, his fourth. I think, what was it? I think it was his 5th season that it took him until he became an All-Star finally.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen a lot for a guy that is now as good as like an MVP candidate. They usually don't come out of like nowhere in like their 5th season, you know, not that Shai came out of nowhere, but it's like he went from never being an all-star to, hey, now he's an all-star and all-NBA first team in the same season. Like, that doesn't really happen. And I wonder if people are still catching up a little bit and like not realizing, because it's not like a Luka, who from day one, it was like everyone was like, oh, it's this guy, he's going to take over the league, and then year two he was an all-NBA first teamer. It took Shai a little bit longer to kind of get into that flow, and now that he's here, he's one of the best in the world. And I don't know if people are just playing catch up, or because it's such an unprecedented jump that people don't quite realize how big of a leap that it was. I think it's partly that, and then I think it's also partly like the fact that he wasn't like this top 3 pick or whatever like that. Like, if Shai was like a top 3 pick and he's doing stuff like this now, I feel like he might get more love, because there always seems to be a little bit of bias towards guys that are up in that spot. We see a lot of times with like role players who stick in the league longer than they probably should, because it was like, oh, they were a top 10 pick, or like, they show all this potential in high school and stuff like that. Whereas with Shai, like, I mean, he was the 11th pick, but he wasn't like, he's in a draft class where it's like there's Luka there as well, and like Trae Young, and those two guys were really duking it out for who's the best in the draft class for a little while until Shai came along. I don't know. I've been trying to think of why people continuously try to discount him, and I think it honestly might just be like the way that the NBA is looked at with like ring culture and stuff, and it's like, oh, he hasn't done anything in the playoffs, which, I mean, literally last year he almost willed the Thunder to a win in that series against the Mavericks and was by far the best player in that series. But yeah, I don't really know what it is, but I don't think people for some reason are realizing how special this year is. And when he gets an MVP and leads the Thunder to a championship this season, hopefully people do.
Yeah, I need them to sleep on him just a little bit more so those odds can go back up, so I can bet on them and actually win some money.
Yeah, there you go. Neither New York or Virginia offer the ability to bet on like award winners.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I would have put some money on Shai winning MVP, because I really felt like this was his year. But yeah, they don't want to see me win. It's fine.
Dude, speaking of money, I just want to bet off Monday Night Football, and I'm very excited.
Nice. What's the score in that right now?
It's over. The Lions railed them.
Oh my gosh, 40
I think,
34.
well, they won by
Jeez.
6, but it was like a garbage time touchdown. Josh Dobbs, of all people, by the way.
Oh, Josh Dobbs. Wow.
Yeah, I think Purdy got shook up, and then they were already down like 12, 13, 14, something like that. So they put Dobbs in, and he got.
Man, Lions Vikings Sunday Night Football to determine who wins the division. That's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, that the NFL's got a lot of fun stuff coming up, but I can just feel the listeners kind of going away here. But before we get to the break, I do want to address this. So Carson Carpenter asked, hey, big Thunder fan, just asking what y'all think about trading for Cam Johnson or not. That's been a huge topic of conversation within Thunder Nation over the last few weeks. Me and Cohen actually had an extensive podcast about this a couple weeks ago. Long story short, we're for it. Like, we're okay with it because we believe that he's a good enough player as a scorer and a shooter and the gravity that he provides. Not too worried about the financials because it feels like a lot now, but it's a movable contract if it gets to that point where you have to move it. And as an expiring deal with a guy of his caliber, you can move that pretty easily. And chemistry, I'm not worried about it either. He's a guy that we have intel that he wants to play here. For all accounts, he seems to be like a stand-up team guy, like, no locker room issues. And he has finals experience. He made it to the finals with that Phoenix Suns team. So I think that it'd be a great piece to add. Now, do I think we have to add somebody? No, I don't think we have to add somebody. I think we're good enough to go to the finals as constructed. But if we were to add somebody, Cam Johnson would be a guy that I would like.
Yeah, I mean, basically everything you said on that front. Also, kind of an interesting tidbit, I guess I'll share now that he's been traded. Dorian Finney-Smith, of course, got traded to the Lakers since the last time the podcast happened. And I won't say which of his family members, but I actually just randomly sat next to someone in his family on a flight back from New York to the Virginia area because that's where he's from. He went to Virginia Tech for school, and they saw that I was looking at some NBA stuff on my phone and asked if I was a basketball fan. I said, yeah. And I was probably wearing a Thunder shirt too or something like that as well. But they were like, oh, well, you might know my son. I now put it out there. It doesn't matter. Dorian Finney-Smith, basically. Yeah, I was going to say not which family member. But they basically were talking with a little bit. And they were sitting next to, it was like a couple of his family members, and the other person was like, yeah, like he's not like the biggest fan of, I think this was back when Jacques Vaughn was the head coach. Specifically, he was like, he wasn't the biggest fan. I believe this was also after the deadline where he got traded there. So it was like kind of just end of the season type stuff. So maybe he eventually became a bigger fan of Brooklyn. But today there was the quote from him where he's like, I'm happy to be part of the Lakers and not be like part of a little brother team anymore, like with the Brooklyn Nets in New York compared to the Knicks. He's like, I'm like on the big brother team now with the Lakers, throwing also some shots at the Clippers. So like from what I heard, he wasn't the happiest over there in Brooklyn, and now he's not there. So hopefully he's feeling a little bit better, and maybe Cam Johnson will get out of Brooklyn here soon too, which I think is probably going to happen right around the deadline.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, he is going to be one of the most sought after names at the deadline, and if the Thunder don't get him, one of our rivals is going to go get him, and it's going to be a move that makes them better. Like Golden State, it would make them better. Nuggets would make them better. Rockets, Mavericks, Wolves, like any of these guys can go get them and like really improve their team. So if nothing else, like addition by well, there's not a term for that, but having them
addition
so
by prevention.
Oh, there you go. Bravo. The guy that made the poem for Shai has nothing on UConn.
Yeah, that was a crazy video. If y'all didn't see it out there, I tweeted it out, but there was this this apparently I think teenage kid who was next to Shai while he was signing autographs, and he's like, Shai, I got a poem for you, and he read it to him, and I think it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oh, how sweet! If you score more than 30, I'll give you a treat.
Which is just a wild thing to say to a grown man.
It's a crazy thing to say, and he goes, "Was it tough?" And Shai goes, "Terrible," and then everyone starts laughing around him, which was so funny. It was hilarious. That a great use of free will right there to go ahead and just drop that poem. Shout out to El Sombra in the chat as well, who just dropped a super chat. We appreciate you. Cam Johnson would fill in the only role hole left on the squad, but AJ definitely filled in the concerns of not having a consistent second team creator. Yeah, that is nice that if AJ can play that role. Part of me does worry a little bit about him, being in the playoffs, like as a rookie. Like, I still think that's something the Thunder can look at. But I mean, like with Chet coming back and the fact that AJ is playing so well, and I do still believe Dub is capable of playing part of that role as well in the playoffs. It's definitely like it's eased my concerns a lot. Like if we don't pick up another creator at the deadline, I'm chill on it because AJ has been so good. And I mean, he's just so poised. Like, why can't he be somewhat effective in the playoffs? So yeah, Cam Johnson to me. If we just went out at the deadline and traded say it's like Ousmane Dieng for like Cam Johnson, and I don't know, it would be some other salary filler, but say it's just something like that and like a pick or two, then I'm chilling. Like that's awesome. I don't really think we need much else. Like Dylan, I don't think we have to make a trade. If we don't make any trades, it's definitely not the end of the world. I'm chilling. But yeah, like that's kind of one of the guys I would go for if we went ahead and made one.
I do think it's really funny how polarizing Cam Johnson has become amongst the Thunder fan base. Like,
yeah, I think it's only because like the player shouldn't be polarizing at all. I think people are honestly just a couple things. One, I think everyone's really attached to the roster, and a trade means you have to give somebody up, and I completely understand that. I don't want to see anyone leave this roster either. But in the long run, if we have to improve the team, it's probably going to have to happen. And it's never going to happen that everybody is on the roster forever. So, I mean, I agree. I would hate to see anybody go, but if they make a trade and it's for Cam and it has to cost us somebody, it's kind of the way the NBA works. It's a business. I also think people are traumatized from the Gordon Hayward thing from last year. But that's completely different because Hayward was like an aging veteran that clearly was not ready for the role that he was provided and wasn't willing to really accept the role that he was given. Whereas Cam Johnson has been like a role player his entire career. And it's like, again, we have intel that he would love to play for OKC. It's not one of those situations where, Gordon probably wasn't like, it's like, oh, I'm going to Oklahoma City. Okay, sure. Like kind of out of nowhere, So yeah, I'm not. I mean, Hayward literally retired after the end of the season that he had with us. So it's not at all the same situation. I just think people are like, oh my gosh, we're making a midseason trade. It's gonna be just like the Gordon Hayward thing, when in reality it's not gonna be like that at all. Plus, trading for Gordon Hayward gave us Isaiah Hartenstein in a roundabout way. So It was worth it.
Worth it. Still counts, as Akon says. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and go to a break. On the other side of the break, we're gonna play a couple games. I have a little bit of fun here at the end of the podcast. Still diving into some stats and still talking Thunder, but just in a different tone. So right after word from our sponsors. And we're back after word from our sponsors. Welcome back, guys. We talked about the Thunder's last 3 games, their 11-game win streak, why Shai is the MVP, and once again, Cam Johnson, because everybody wants to talk about Cam Johnson. Hashtag OK Cam. Shout out Tierney. I know he would love that. But we're going to talk about some Thunder stats here. So, Cone, I have a game for you. And famously, if you guys have tuned into the podcast, you know that Cone is really good at these games. It's usually because it has to do with stats, and Cone literally covers the NBA for a living. So it's good for him to be in the know for this. So this is going to be, Cone, I also know you're a baseball fan. You love baseball. You're a huge Yankees guy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read.
Hate Juan Soto with all my heart.
There you go. I apologize. I don't apologize. I feel sorry for you in that regard.
Oh, you don't need to. I hate that guy. I'm glad he's gone.
All right. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to present different stat categories, and I want you to what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to do the top 5 of that category. Okay.
Okay.
So it's going to be Thunder players.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do 3 strikes you're out because I want to do multiple categories and you're the only other person on the podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 batters and 3 strikes. So you get 3 outs in this. So if I had to put a name to this, I would call it batter up. So
I like it.
Yeah.
That's catchy.
Batter up, Cone. Minutes played per game.
I'm going to go with, is this like a qualifying thing? Like, is Chet going to be on any of these lists?
I could keep him on here, but
I mean, I'm cool if he's on there. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, we'll take him off. I think I'm gonna have him off anyways.
Okay, all right. Minutes per game. Shai is going to be up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think probably some Jalen Williams action in there.
Can you specify?
J Dub.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Which broadcast? I think it was the Wizards one, because being in Virginia, watching on my TV, I could only get the local Wizards broadcast because the game's over. I'll blacked out otherwise. And the Wizards announcers kept, like, for J Will and J Dub, they would say, like, one of them, they would say Jalen Williams, and then when they say Jalen Williams, and it was like that helped at all. Like, the name isn't spelled the same. Like, it was just confusing. They were just trying something, I guess. But yeah, so we got Shai, we got J-Dub. I would say Isaiah Hartenstein is probably up there in minutes played per game.
3 for 3 so far.
Then it gets a little bit tricky. I would say probably Cason Wallace.
4.
Okay. And then number 5. Who's my number 5?
No, I was saying that as a question. Is that what you were saying?
Oh, at number 4. Oh, do I have to give him an order?
Yeah.
Oh, in order.
That's
okay.
the point.
At number 4, I guess. Okay. Let's see. Oh, no. It would be Lou. Lou at number 4.
Lou is 4.
And then Cason Wallace at number 5.
Cason Wallace is number 5. Yeah. You were perfect through one category, sir.
All right, there we go. I don't know why Lou slipped my mind of all people. I was like, I had to think about the starting lineup again. I was like, who am I missing in the starting 5?
This will be interesting. I'll be interested to see if you can get it. So, top 5 field goals attempted, and again, Chet is exempt.
Okay, so Shai's gonna be number 1.
Yep.
Jalen Williams will be number 2.
Yep.
Then I think it's gonna be. I think it's either iHeart or Lou. I'm gonna go with Lou for number 3.
That's your first strike.
Not Lou at number 3. Is it Isaiah Hartenstein number 3?
Isaiah Hartenstein's number 3.
Okay. I thought Lou's had some games where he's throwing up. I guess he's also had some games recently where he's not shooting as much. Is it Lou Dort at 4?
Mm-hmm.
And then number 5. I'm gonna go with Isaiah Joe at 5.
That is your second strike, sir.
Oh, okay. No Isaiah Joe there. So the options are Cason, Wiggs. I guess it's got to be one of those two. So I've done Shai, I've done Dub, I've done Lou, I've done iHeart, right? Those are the 4 I've got. Chet's exempt. So either Wiggins or Cason. Which of the 2 would shoot more? Because Queso starts, but I feel like when Wiggs is out there, he's just shooting. You know, I'm gonna go with because I don't think it'll be Caruso. Give me Aaron Wiggins at number 5.
That is correct. It is
Okay.
the man that saved basketball.
Yep. All right, there we go.
Yeah, he has so in perspective, Shai has 20.9, Dub has 17.5, iHeart has 9.3, Dort has 8.2, and Wiggins is at 7.7, trailed by Isaiah Joe at 7.5. So just right there.
Okay, I was gonna say it felt like they were close. Like I was gonna be surprised if Kaysen was ahead of either of them.
All right, this might be a little bit easier. So we'll try a 3 points attempt.
3-point attempts. Oh, interesting. Actually, this might be a little bit harder because Shai's been chucking them. I'll go with Shai number 1.
He is number 1 at 6.2.
Okay, then give me J-Dub at number 2.
That is strike 3. First batter is out, brother.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. We
Bring
got
on
more.
the next one.
So not Dub at number 2. Lou at number 2.
Strike number 1 on the second batter.
Okay, Isaiah Joe at number 2.
Isaiah Joe is number 2.
Okay, then I'm gonna go Lou at number 3.
Lou is number 3.
Then Dub at 4.
Yep.
And then number
Number
5
5.
is it's Wiggins or Kaysen. Wiggs at 5.
All right. You survived.
Okay, there we go. Jeez, that one was tough. It's harder than I thought it was
easier.
gonna
I
be.
apologize.
No, I in my head it's like just every time I think about Lou shooting for the most part now, it's like catch and shoot threes. I know Dub's been chucking them a lot, but I guess like Isaiah Joe's whole thing is running off screens and shooting a bunch of threes. So I guess I could yeah.
You know what's wild? Let me see if this is correct. I think it is based off of what I've looked at before. Bro, basketball reference just doesn't want to work. That's cool. I'm clicking on Isaiah Joe's name. All right, anyways, I think that he's doubled his 3-point attempts is what I was trying to say, or almost doubled his 3-point attempts.
Let me see if it's working for me because now I'm actually really curious.
No, I got
Yeah,
it,
basketball
man.
reference I think recently has been
I lied.
kind of-
I lied. He's shooting about 1.5 more threes per game, which still pretty good.
yeah, still a good bit. Okay.
I think it's Wiggins that might have doubled his 3-pointers.
I think Wiggins probably has.
Yes.
Yeah, you're probably
He
right.
went from 1.6 to 3.7.
Keep it up, GOAT. Keep shooting them.
Absolutely. All right. 3-point shooting percentage, top 5, and
Ooh,
I will add
percentage.
there is with the exception of Chet, there is no qualifier for games played.
No qualifier.
Yep.
There isn't a situation where like Brendan Carlson's 1 for 1, is there?
Brendan Carlson is a big O 0 on the season.
Okay. I'm just making sure it's not like, one of the guys is like, hit 1 3 and they've only attempted 1. Number
I
1.
decided to bunt.
Honestly, I think number 1 is Kenrich Williams.
Strike 2 on the second batter.
Not Kenny at number 1.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well then it's probably. I don't know. I felt like you'd been knocking him down. Lou Dort at number 1.
Strike 3 on the second batter.
Oh man, who the hell is number 1? It's not someone that's. Oh, duh! It's AJ Mitchell.
AJ Mitchell's 46.7%.
It's AJ Mitchell. Is number 2? God, now I messed myself completely up by just not. I got too much in the habit of like per game, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking of AJ. Number 2, is this Kenrich Williams?
Strike 1 on the third batter.
Okay, this one's Lou Dort at number 2.
Strike 2.
What is Lou? What are their percentages down? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Like I said, no qualifier. Think about no qualifier.
No qualifier. That's what gets me, bro. Is the no qualifiers.
Except for Chet.
Except for Chet. No qualifiers.
All right, you know what? I feel kind of dirty now because he's only played a couple games. It's Big J Will at 46.
Oh, okay.
So I'll take away one of your strikes. Kenrich is number 2 after that, 42.6. Lou Dort's 38.6.
Okay.
So you have 3. You got to get your next 2.
I got to get the next two. I mean, this team's not shooting great at all this season. So you said I have AJ, then Kemrich, then Lou.
Mm-hmm.
I know his percentage is down from last year because it was like 50% last year, but I think it would still be Aaron Wiggins, right?
That is correct. You got 4.
Okay.
He's at 37.7%.
And then probably because what is this percentage down to right now? But I think it's still higher than what Joe has been shooting this season. J-Dub, is J-Dub 5?
That is number 5.
Okay. I know his percentage. What's it at this point?
It is at 35.8.
Okay.
And Zay is at 35.1. Shai is at 34.4.
Okay. That's about kind of where I envisioned it. All right.
All right. Let's move to a different category. Let's go to let's get your confidence up. Let's get a few singles out there, Colin. Let's go to steals per game.
Oh, steals per game? Okay. Number 1 is going to be Shai.
Yep.
Number 2 will be Caruso.
Yep. They're actually tied. So either way, either one you would have said, I would have let you have.
Okay. Well, the number 3 is tricky because I know, I think it's Dub and Queso in some order, but I don't know which order it is.
I'll go ahead and tell you they're also tied.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just say, I guess I'll go Dub, then Queso.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's cool. And then it's got to be Lou, right?
Yep, there you go. You got a few singles out there. You got some runners out there. I think you might have even got a run. So
yeah, there we go. Yeah, just put the ball in play. Put the ball in play.
All right, now we're bringing out the closer. Bringing out Mariano Rivera. Blocks per game.
Ooh, okay. I mean, it's interesting. So no Chet, obviously. Do Shai or iHeart average more blocks per game? Who is gonna? I think it's gonna be iHeart number 1. I think iHeart still gets it.
Yes.
Okay, Isaiah Hartenstein number 1, then Shai number 2.
They're actually tied, so either way.
No. Let's have all these ties.
Which is crazy.
Then who else is going to be out there? I mean, I think it's kind of the similar guys for the steals category. Because Cruz has really not been blocking shots like that this season. Has he? How many strikes do I have left?
You have, I believe, 2 strikes left on this
2
batter.
strikes. Okay, and this is my 3rd one, so I got 2 strikes left in total.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go. I think I'll go Lou here.
Yes.
Okay, and then I think it would be. Is this Dub next?
Strike 2.
Okay, then it has to be Case and Wallace. It has to be.
Case and Lou are also tied.
Okay, and then it has to be Dub to wrap it up, right?
Dub is at 0.7. Yes.
Okay, man, damn blocks. And then where's Caruso at?
He is at 0.6.
Okay, so he was kind of up there.
Underneath.
I just feel like he hasn't been really blocking shots like that. I mean, I guess none of them are really averaging over 1 block per game, but it's hilarious that Shai and iHeart are tied at 1.2. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. All right, this is, gosh, should I give you a hard category for the last one, or should I give you an easy one to challenge you on the table?
Nah, go with the difficult one. I got to earn this. I got 1 strike left, right?
Yes, you have 1 strike left.
No errors then. All right, let me run it.
All right, let me see here. Let me find. Sure, we'll do this one. This is a fun stat. All right, with the qualifier that you've played at least 30 games. Okay. Free throw percentage.
Played at least 30 games? We've not had a lot of people that have played 30 games. Well, I know number 1, we talked about him earlier. It's got to be Kemrich Williams. He hasn't missed a single one this season.
I will let that slide. That was a foul ball because he had 21 games.
Oh yeah, Ken. I forgot Kenny started the season hurt. Okay. All right, fouled it off. Shai's gonna be number 1.
Shai is number 1.
Then I don't know.
Good luck is all I gotta say.
Because I don't think Dub's up there. You know who's been shooting really well from the line this season? There have been a couple of guys. I know Wiggs has been shooting really well from the line.
You know what? I'm gonna for the final category. I'll eliminate the ranking. Just give me the top 5.
Give me the top 5. Okay, is Wiggins in there?
Wiggins is there. He is number 3 in this category.
Number
this
3.
Qualifier.
So there's a 2 in there. Is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 2. Who's number 2? Well, then I guess is Dub in the top 5? How? I mean, he's got to be. I think Dub's still in the top 5.
He is number 4, 81.2.
Okay, and then we're a good free throw shooting team. That's the problem. Like I think we are statistically the best free throw shooting team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many names flying around. Like Caruso is a good shooter. AJ feels like he hasn't missed a free throw this season, but I don't know if he's played. He's probably played 30 games. Like Zay, I don't think would be that high up. Like Lou, Kaysen honestly has knocked down a lot of free throws. Bro, I don't know. So I'm missing what 5 and 2.
Yeah,
5 and 2.
call your shot.
This one's hard. He doesn't shoot a lot. I can't remember him missing many. Give me AJ.
AJ is number 5.
Oh man. Okay.
80.8%.
How many free throws a game does he shoot?
He shoots 0.8 per game.
I figured he didn't shoot very many. Okay. Then I'm between a few guys. I'm between
Number
Lou,
2 shoots less free throws per game.
less free throws per game. Okay, I don't think it's a Lou. I'm between Lou, Kaysen, and Caruso is where I'm at right now. Because I don't think Joe was shooting him like that. I can like remember some particular bricks from Isaiah Joe for some reason. Hart's not shooting like that. Like those are the only guys left on the roster. You know?
I will say that those 3 make up the rest of the top 7.
Okay. Well, I mean, now I think about it, Caruso hasn't played 30 games. So he's out.
Yes, you're correct,
Yeah,
actually.
he hasn't played 30 games.
I apologize, Caruso is out.
It's okay.
Those
so
2
it's
make
Lou,
up the top 6.
so it's Lou or Kaysen is where it comes down to. And I think Lou shoots more free throw attempts. Using your hint, I think Lou shoots more free throw attempts a game than AJ Mitchell. So I'm going to go Kaysen Wallace.
The pitch is out. Cone swings. Cracks it over the right outfield wall. It's a home run.
So what percentage is Kaysen shooting this season?
That was amazing. 85.7% from free
Oh my
throw.
damn. Hold on. I need to look at this list. Hold on.
Yeah, so Kendrick Williams and Brandon Carlson have not missed a free throw, but they have played 21 and 6 games.
Man, shout out to Brandon Carlson. Yeah, shout out Twin. Free throw percentage. Yeah, wow, Kaysen 85%, man. 0.2 a game.
Yep. That's great. 0.2
Yeah,
Lou,
Lou,
is a hard number
like
to get to.
it definitely did help that you told me that the guy shoots less than AJ, because I was like, I know Lou shoots like at least like a free throw a game. Like there's no way.
Yeah, I kind of babied you in that last category in a lot of ways, but I couldn't let the underscone go down.
You threw me a fastball down the middle. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. All right, yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that game of Batter Up. We might do a couple more of those.
That was good, man. I think we stumbled
down.
into a good game. Like,
yeah, we'll have to get the other guys on there.
Yeah, see if they can handle the knuckleball of the free throw percentage category like you threw at me.
I'm throwing the. You remember Daisuke Matsuzaka had the gyro ball?
I mean, you threw me an Ephus.
Yeah, you lost me on that one. I can't.
No, that's okay. I remember who threw the Ephus. It was just like basically like you just lobbed it in there pretty much.
That's wild.
I'm gonna find somebody who threw an EFIS before we end this podcast.
Bro, listening to Cone type, the fastest I've ever heard a human being type. Anytime he types, is just crazy.
But you know where that comes from? When I was like 12, maybe younger, playing RuneScape and like typing messages in the chat and like Club Penguin and stuff, bro. I played like those online games and I was typing hella messages in the chat and I just became a fast typer, and it worked because now that's part of my career is typing stuff up. So
there you
all
go.
I'm saying is, you know,
play video games.
Yeah, play more video games and it will help you out with your career is all I'm gonna say.
With that being said, we're gonna run Marvel Rivals after this, so hit us up if you guys are interested.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it says that
okay.
there was it says Yu Darvish at one point threw an EFIS.
Yes.
Zach Greinke actually apparently has thrown an EFIS before. A 51 mile per hour EFIS at one moment. So
that's nuts.
Yeah.
It's just like is it just like a change of pace? Like you're just
I think it's just like, yeah, you're gassing it by him and then you just go whoop. And the goal is for the person to just like, they physically cannot stop themselves from swinging like 15 minutes before the pitch gets there. Yeah. I think that's the whole goal of it.
Huh, makes sense. I get it. All right, Colin. Well, hey, as we discussed, tomorrow's New Year's Eve. By the time you're listening to this, it might already be New Year's Eve. It actually is already New Year's Eve for me and Cone because we're on the East Coast.
Yeah, it is.
Famously, people want to do their New Year's resolution for New Year's. So we don't have to do the whole roster or anything like that. But if you were to pick one player on the Thunder team to give a New Year's resolution to for the rest of the season, what would it be, Cone?
One player to give a New Year's resolution to. It would be for it would be for Chet Holmgren to have a hip. Like his New Year's resolution is to get a second working hip is my New Year's resolution. I need my guy back.
But if that's not a Matt Tierney type answer, I've never heard one.
I felt super inspired I was super inspired by Tierney in my answer.
To have a hip.
To have a hip. That's that's my New Year's resolution is to have a working hip. Is that not a good resolution? I feel like it is.
I mean, hey, it absolutely is. Mine is for Alex Caruso to not dive on the floor one time.
Yours is also for Alex Caruso to have a hip.
I would like for the whole Thunder team to have at least one hip.
Yeah, I'd like for our team wide resolution is for the Thunder to just take better care of their hips. Is honestly the way it is. For such a young team, you wouldn't expect all these hip problems. Usually that's an older person problem, but apparently one of the youngest teams in basketball and he's got hip problems.
Listen, the prophet Shakira once said hips don't lie. So
hips don't lie. Broken hips win chips.
There you go. Put it on a t-shirt.
Put on a t-shirt when we win it all.
It's a better poem than what old dude had for Shai.
Yeah, man. I mean, pretty much anything was better. It's just insane to tell another guy like just like a professional basketball player standing there right there, and you have the chance to say something, and you're like, "Oh, bro, you score 30, I'll give you a treat." Like, what does that even imply? What treat do you have for him?
It's like he don't want nothing, bro. He can get anything he wants.
Yeah, bro. He's like a multi-millionaire. Like, what treat are you offering? Unless you have like some kind of rare candy or something like that. Or...
the rare candy from Pokemon.
Yeah, unless you have a rare candy to go ahead and like level them up even further.
Like, level them up, baby.
Man.
It's like, hey, let me get that MVP right quick.
I don't know, man. I don't know what treat is potentially being offered, but I would, if someone came up to me in the street, say we're at the Topic Thunder meetup, and someone goes to me and is like, "Cone, if you hit the half court shot, I will give you a treat." I'm throwing that thing into the stands. I don't want the treat. I'm good. I'm chilling. I will purposefully throw away my shot to avoid this potential treat offering that someone is throwing my way. I'm good.
Bro, Shai might have fumbled the bag. Somebody could have been offering him a rare candy to level up.
They could have been.
And he's just down them.
If someone tells me they're offering me a rare candy to level up, I'm 100% sure that's an illicit drug that probably has like a 95% chance to kill me. So I'm not taking that. I'm cool on it. Like that thing's definitely laced. I'm good.
And there you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think there's a better ending to that podcast.
Then talk about laced rare candies. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Other than to say a prediction for tomorrow or today against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Timberwolves like a 14-point win. I don't know, man. I'm not really moved by Minnesota this season. I think Julius Randle really struggles against our ball pressure. I think that's going to have him in hell. And the Thunder come out of here with a pretty decent win to go into the new year on a 12-game win streak and 27-5, which is ridiculous.
I love it. Yeah, I agree. I think we win. I think we win handily. I think we, get out of there so the guys can go celebrate the new year, and then the gauntlet begins, starting with the Clippers, and then into the Knicks and the Cavs and the Celtics and the Knicks and the Cavs and the Celtics.
Yeah, just a lot of back and forth between the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Like, you want to, if Shai wants to make an MVP statement, that is the stretch to do it. If he goes out there and we beat like the Knicks, Cavs, Celtics, say we somehow came out of that and the win streak is still intact, or we only have like one loss, like then I think it really, really heats up.
Yeah, so. Especially with those Cavs games being flexed to TNT, that will help. I can't believe the Celtics game or even the Knicks game hasn't been flexed at this point. Like it feels like a shocker, lack of oversight from the NBA. So hopefully they rectify that. But if they don't,
I think
we'll beat the Cavs.
I don't think the Celtics one can be, because I don't think they have a primetime slot that day, because it's an NFL playoff day. I'm pretty sure they just have the game on before, which brings up the better, thing of the Thunder were pretty obviously going to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference. The Celtics aren't the 1 seed right now, but they were the reigning champions and pretty obviously can be one of the best teams in the NBA. Why is that when you schedule like two of your top threats to win it all? The two teams that had the best odds to win it all going into the season. Why are you scheduling them playing against each other at like a midday game when the NFL playoffs are going to be on? I don't get it. So
yeah, there's just a lot going on there, man. They need to.
If the NBA flexes that game, we'll give them a treat.
We'll give them a treat, daggone it. We'll give you a rare candy.
They'll give you a treat, NBA, if you flex some more of those Thunder games on national TV and help the Shai MVP case. We'll give you a treat.
Yes, we'll give you the rare candy to level up over the NFL, because that's all you really want. But yeah, with that being said, I think that's the perfect end of this podcast. I would be remiss if I didn't say to buy your tickets to the Top Thunder Fan Meetup. Kind of mentioned. I mentioned earlier in the podcast, it is March 21st against the Charlotte Hornets. It's going to be an absolute blast. I mean, the game's going to be fun. It sounds like the whole unit is going to be there, including the elusive Steven Dolan. So, I mean, if nothing else, like, show up for that. But, also all the stuff, the game, the meetup. But we get to go down to the court. We get to take a photo on the court. You can take your own photos on the court. We get to shoot a half-court shot, which is just fun in and of itself. But if you make that half-court shot by chance, you get a basketball signed by the entire Thunder basketball team. And I don't know if I've stressed this enough. I will be gunning for that basketball. I am not your friend in this competition.
I won't if you offer me a treat. That's all you got to do to get me out of the running.
All right.
That's all you got to do.
All right. Well,
but otherwise, I'll be gunning for it as well. So practice.
Listen, if you guys subscribe to this channel, like the video, buy a ticket to the Top Thunder Fan event, we will give you guys a treat. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great night. God bless. Hoop when you can. And have a happy new year, because as always, Thunder up!
Thunder up!